We're now with Public Works, and Randy, if you could introduce yourself and make a presentation. We also have with us Councilman Stein and Councilman Pridemore.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start by introducing the staff with me today. To my left is Mark Macy, Chief Engineer. To my right, Sharon Wallstrom, who's our Assistant Director for Finance. I also have several other staff members behind me here. Sharon Smith, who's Beautification Special Events. Jenna Smith, Public Information Officer. Billy Fields, who's over our taxi cab and limousine operation, the TLC. Don Reed, our paving manager. Mr. Philip Jones, who's over our operations division. Mr. Chip Nutt, who's over our traffic division, and Paul Hiltz, who's in our finance office. The Department of Public Works delivers a wide range of services that help define the quality of life for the residents of Nashville and Davidson County. Our employees help ensure a safe, clean, and convenient transportation network of public streets and alleys. We also provide an efficient system for managing trash and other waste in Davidson County. Among the assets managed, and I will mention only a few for brevity, over 5,800 lane miles of road and right-of-way, more than 800 signalized intersections, over 300 bridges, over 1,000 miles of sidewalk, 13 community recycle drop-off sites, 3 convenience centers. We collect refuge from over 126,000 homes from the USD on a weekly basis. Our call center, which we're very proud of, handled over 100,000 calls last year. About 40,000 of those turned into some type of request for public works services. And the standard things we also do: create and install street signs, clean up roadside dumping and littering. Our engineering division manages all of our capital projects. Examples of this past year would be the KVB and 8th Avenue Roundabout and 5th Avenue of the Arts Streetscape project. An example of an ongoing street capital project would be the Harding Place sidewalks, which were about 20% complete in the first phase. The most recent capital budget allocation was approximately $75 million. Mayor, for us to move into the numbers quickly, for us to maintain where we're at today, just a status quo budget, we would need approximately $820,000. About $220,000 of that is just CPI on standard contracts that we're managing, so that's just normal cost of living, if you will. And the additional $600,000 would be to deal with the NES bill. As you are aware, we pay the street lights, power and facility charge, and it's very difficult to estimate exactly what that bill will be from time to time. So we're asking for an additional $600,000. That would just be a status quo budget. We do have a few improvements that we are interested in proposing also in addition to the status quo budget. And I'll run through them briefly. We'd like to increase the downtown cleaning crew, 4 additional positions. Our beautification and community service area, we'd like to hire 1 more position to where we could double up our program in that area. That's a great program for Public Works. We estimate the labor cost avoidance about $1 million a year, so it's a very good investment to add an additional supervisor. It allows us to run 2 different shifts of the community service workers. In addition, we're interested in proposing doubling twice a month our recycling program. As you know, today we only pick up once a month on the recycling, and to continue to take that program to the next level, we feel like we need to go to twice a month pickup. Our ultimate goal is to try to get our recycling program where it, as close as we can, mimics actual trash pickup, which will make it easier for the citizens. That's approximately $837,000 in operating cost. We also, along the same lines of recycling, backdoor and downtown recycling, we'd like to asking for additional 3 positions to allow us to do that. And a big ticket item that we are proposing is an additional convenience center. As y'all are aware, we currently have 3 convenience centers. We do not have anything serving really the southern part of the county. We've identified an area out on Easel Pike where we're very interested in putting an additional convenience center. That area is very underserved right now from a convenience center standpoint. That would be $372,000 operating, about $1.6 million to build the site and buy all the equipment necessary. One final. The operating budget comes to about $1.8 million of the improvements we're asking for, in addition to the $820,000 on the status quo, that would be 23 positions plus operating expenses, so that would be an ongoing expense. To do these programs, we would need some one-time money for equipment, et cetera. That total comes to about $4.2 million. That would be for the downtown cleaning crew, 2 new pickups, a sweeper. For the recycling program, about $1.7 million for 5 sidearms, 4 rear loaders. The additional convenience center would be mainly trying to build the building. You have to put water and sewer, electrical, everything. Be about $1.6 million to set the side up. The other improvements we're asking for are basically just replacements in trash carts, roll-offs, some IT equipment, et cetera. Bottom line, quickly, the operating we're asking for would be $2.6 million, which $820,000, that's the status quo budget, and $4.9 million in one-time costs, 4% or whatever, just for additional equipment to do these programs. That's pretty much where we're at from a status quo and improvement standpoint. Be glad to try to answer any questions.
All right. Well, let's go first to the downtown cleaning crews. Those are crews that clean the streets?
Yes, sir.
All right, so one of the...
Sidewalks, too.
Sidewalks, too.
Pick up trash, also.
All right, so one of the things that has been occurring over the past few years is lots of special events, big events occur in the city.
Yes, sir.
And how do you manage that? And like, is this a reflection of that fact, or
It
something?
would really help. The main reason we're wanting the additional 4 would be we have a busier footprint to deal with on a daily basis as opposed to special events. When we have special events, we have roughly 17 people in the night cleaning crew right now. Their duties do not change. They have to keep doing what they normally do. We typically would bring in people, like after 4th of July, some major event, we'll bring in additional people. It turns into an overtime situation to clean up for a major event, because the 17 we have on the night cleaning crew, they're doing that every night. They clean 7 nights a week. We have a little bigger footprint than we've had in the past with the convention center in that area. We always covered this area, but there just wasn't in the past much activity over there, and there's quite a bit of activity for us cleanup and this type of thing.
All right, and it's going to expand with the continued growth around the convention
Yes,
center, and certainly with the baseball stadium and the growth in
Yes, sir.
The northern part of the downtown area. You mentioned the recycling, and so your goal would be, so my recycling gets picked up next Wednesday, I'd have it picked up instead of once a month, it'd be twice a month.
Yes, sir.
All right, and can you explain why is that necessary? I mean, for instance, do you still give as many Kirby containers as anybody wants for the most part?
We try to, yes, sir.
Right.
But at some point in time, I mean, it just becomes almost unmanageable if you just keep having loads and loads. You have to pick it up on some kind of regular basis. And our theory is that the closer it mimics trash pickup, the more you're going to encourage people to recycle. Because when we go out here and we'll try to convince people to recycle, well, how often do you pick up the trash? Well, once a week. How often do you pick up the recycling? Once a month. But yeah, you can add additional Kirby carts, and we do that.
Has the recycling numbers gone up over the past few years?
They've been, since I've been there, they've been pretty static. They have not improved that much. I mean, I think we're at the point, I think the solid waste code was adopted in 2010, and I think a lot of things that's happened since then did great things. We banned cardboard, banned yard waste. We went to 2 carts. Anything over 2 trash carts you have to pay for back in 2012, I think. So the program has been a great program, but I think we're at the point now where in order to advance those numbers, we're going to have to move to another level and try to increase the cycles of the recycling, if you will.
And the primary thrust there, or the rationale behind it, is that by increasing the cycles, you're likely to increase the amount of participation?
We would think so, yes.
What about the concept of expanding the items that can be recycled?
We constantly, Sharon Smith is kind of in charge of our recycling, and Cody Osborne. I mean, they're constantly looking for additional ways, new. I mean, this is one of those areas that there's something new about every 2 or 3 weeks or once a month. So they're constantly looking at ways to improve upon that as far as what's recyclable, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, to answer your question, that's kind of an ongoing situation, and you're aware we have educational events for children and adults, and so we've tried to push it in a variety of ways.
Is there, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but is there a market there for glass?
Glass is a tough one. I don't know off the top of my head some of the issues with it. I can get that information, but I know glass is a tough recycling.
Okay, and then the other one that is of interest to me would be composting. That in terms of cutting down what's going to the landfill, if you start composting, you could make a significant dent in that. And if you're composting, I definitely can see the need for quicker pickup because it would be
Absolutely. But yeah, we are looking at all of those. We've even sent some people down to, I forget what city it's in Tennessee, that had a composting operation, and we've met with the water department. We've talked about trying to do a partnership with them, Scott Potter.
Okay. You mentioned taxi licensing is under your purview, and that actually has been one of the more dynamic areas in the last year.
It's been busy.
I don't know whether Billy or yourself could answer these questions just in terms of where we are right now. I mean, as I look at the past, maybe it's more than a year and a half or so, you've had a growth in the number of taxi license issued, more cab drivers in Nashville, more cabs. You've had the arrival of 2 or maybe more companies into the market offering different services.
Yeah, 2, but they're really different business models, but I think there's more coming. Yes, there's
there's Uber and
black car type issue, which is be an Uber, and there's the ride sharing type programs like a Lyft, Sidecar, some of those, and there's numerous companies, but yes, it's changed the whole dynamics of it.
Okay, and basically where are we right now?
Where we're at today is, and we did a lot of research when all this started, and we couldn't really find any place that was really perfect or had a good system down, so we had to kind of develop our own. I mean, we had a lot of help from California and some places like that. We did some research, but we basically have drafted some sample legislation, if you will, to our model legislation, would be a better word to put it. And it's kind of new, to be honest. We worked real close with the legal department. We've brought representatives from the industry in, Lyft, Uber, up various of these companies, to review the legislation. Basically, we were caught in a situation where really the existing code does not address a ride-sharing type program. So we're trying to draft legislation that eventually will work its way to the council. First it'll go to the Traffic and License Commission. But if you ask where we're at today, we've met with some of the representatives of the industry. Billy Fields, our director. And we have a model piece of legislation out there for them to review. They're commenting on it today or this week, and they're sending us in what they agree, what they disagree with. Hopefully, we're going to eventually have a good piece of legislation that we can submit for the council's consideration.
Okay. But those companies are here and now operating?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other request is obviously the convenience center, which you feel is a need in an underserved area.
Yes, sir. Geographically, our convenience centers, we have one in Madison, we have one at East Center out off Trinity Lane, then there's one in the Donaldson area. There's really not anything in the south or west. And I'm sure you're aware, Mayor, convenience centers, it's hard to find a location. It's hard to find a place for this. We've been working with the Sheriff's Department. This would be Sheriff's Department's property, and the location's ideal to try to serve the south side. So, yes, we think it's a very underserved area from this standpoint.
Craig?
Definitely.
All right, well, thanks for all your good work, and thanks everybody from Public Works for what you all do. We appreciate it. Thanks.
Yes, sir.